who made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their communities and to our state and to our country. This year, we'll add the names of five Ohioans to the National Law Enforcement Memorial, all who laid their lives down last year. Deputy Sheriff Daniel Kinn, Deputy Sheriff Matthew Eugene Yates, Police Officer Dominic Francis, Agent John Dale Stayrook, Deputy Sheriff Terrence Nicholas Bateman. Sadly, we already know of one more name that will be added to the memorial next year, Officer Timothy James Unwin III of the Springfield Township Police Department. Each one of these losses is a tragedy for a family, for a community, for their fellow officers. These Ohioans' lives are a reminder of the ideals we should strive for. We need officers who are true public servants in the best sense of the words, people who give themselves to their communities. And these Ohioans gave so much. In their memory, I want to reminisce for a moment about each of them and tell my colleagues why this is so important and who these public servants were. Deputy Sheriff Daniel J. Kinn was a devoted husband and father to 2 young children. He was known for his easygoing personality and being a colleague and friend that everyone could count on. He was a Sandusky native, a community on Lake Erie, and helped his father run their family farm in his free time. He gave his life last December while serving as deputy sheriff at the Wyandotte County Sheriff's Office. Deputy Sheriff Matthew Eugene Yates served his community for 15 years at the Clark County Sheriff's Office as a member of their special operations team. His colleagues remember Deputy Yates for his joy, but also his strength and his bravery. He mentored younger deputies and children in their communities. Our thoughts are with his wife, his daughter, his stepsons, and his father, who also served in the Clark County Sheriff's Office, a long history of public service in that family. Police Officer Dominic M. Francis grew up in Bluffton, Ohio, a town in northwest Ohio, returned home to join the Bluffton Police Department after playing football at the University of Findlay and serving at the Findlay Police Department in the Hancock County Sheriff's Office. Officer Francis received the Officer of the Year Award twice, multiple letters of commendation, the Chief's Leadership Award, and a Bluffton Police Department Life-Saving Award. He was honored by Mothers Against Drunk Drivers as top cop and earned the Ohio EMS Star of Life multiple times. He loved spending time with his wife and 2 children at Indian Lake and served in law enforcement for 19 years. In honor of his memory, a portion of I-95 that runs near Bluffton has been renamed the Officer Dominic Francis Memorial Highway. Agent John Dale Stayrook was a dedicated husband, a father and grandfather, and devoted to the communities he served. He worked with the Medina County Drug Task Force in Northeast Ohio and the Medway Drug Enforcement Agency, serving for 19 years. He enjoyed woodworking and spending time in nature with his family and his friends. In February 2022, Agent Stayrook passed away after contracting COVID-19 in the line of duty. Deputy Sheriff Terrence Nicholas Bateman was a Cleveland native and, as difficult as this is, often a Cleveland sports fan who served with the Franklin County Sheriff's Office for 25 years. Deputy Sheriff Bateman was well respected and adored in his community. He supported his colleagues and always had a kind word to offer. He loved cooking for family and friends, his wife, his 5 daughters, 2 sons, and 2 brothers. We can't begin to repay the debt we owe these officers and all these families. We can work to protect more officers in the communities that they swear an oath to serve. It's why I'm working with colleagues of both parties in legislation to support law enforcement as they do their jobs. I'm joined by Arkansas Republican Senator Cotton to reintroduce our Protecting First Responders from Secondary Exposure Act to protect first responders when they encounter dangerous substances like fentanyl on the job, and introduce the Providing Officers with an Electronic Resources Act to help state and local law enforcement organizations secure high-tech portable screening devices to detect fentanyl, similar equipment and detection devices that our men and women serving us at the border have. Our law enforcement officers are on the front lines of the addiction crisis. They're dealing with ever more dangerous forms of fentanyl on the job. It's why I've worked with members of both parties on a plan to target the illicit fentanyl supply chain from the chemical suppliers in China to the cartels that transport the drugs in Mexico. I'm pleased the presiding officer today is someone who has great expertise at that, representing a state, New Mexico, in that part of the world. I'll keep fighting to make sure that police officers can retire with dignity. My bipartisan Social Security Fairness Act will ensure that Social Security benefits will be there when officers retire from a life of dedicated services, officers that pay into the state retirement system, but also have paid into Social Security. I'll work to ensure that first responders have the support they need to cope with the stresses of responding to crisis situations. This Police Week, let's offer law enforcement officials and public servants more than empty words. Let's honor the memory of these women and men who laid down their lives in service of their communities by getting their fellow officers the tools and training they need to do their jobs and to build trust with the communities they're sworn to protect. I yield the floor.